never believed I was a politician, and I don't believe he is either. Politicians, as I said, he's got a background in business. I have a background in business. I believe that what you're going to find with Vivek is that's what we really need to move this state forward. And I'm happy to say that we're going to have a great state. Vivek was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, attended Harvard University, received a bachelor's degree in biology, and Yale for his law degree. His career began as an investment partner in a hedge fund before founding the investment firm Stride Asset Management in 2022. He wrote the book Woke Inc. and appeared on cable networks arguing against woke policies. That's probably the first time you ever heard or saw the name Vivek. You know, it's the first time I did. As he was traveling the circuit on these woke policies. In 2024, he entered the presidential race, but suspended his race in January 2024 to support Donald Trump. I call him a friend. Next year, you and I will be calling him governor. Let's give a warm Medina County welcome to Vivek Ramaswamy, our Republican Party and George County.
Thank you. Great to see you, Jim. Thank you. Thank you.
You have your own mic?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much. Give my friend Jim Renace another round of applause. Jim, you do a fantastic job here in Medina County. So proud of you. And also our friend Dave Yost, another round of applause for being here tonight and recognize all of your contributions and leadership. Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome, Jim. We appreciate it. And I'll tell you, you give a bit of my own story. I'll share a little bit more of it in depth. My parents came halfway around the world to Cincinnati, Ohio, of all places, about a half century ago. I actually had a funny story where I asked my dad, why'd you come halfway around the world to Cincinnati? He said his older sister had lived in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Thought of her today because my cousin from Fort Wayne came with us to the Ohio State game. I said, well, why did she come halfway around the world to Fort Wayne, Indiana, of all places? And we joked around, it is the only U.S. state with the word India in the name of the state. So that was how my dad ended up in Cincinnati. He married my mom. They came over about a half century ago, and they came here with nothing. And in a single generation, I've had the opportunity to found multiple successful companies, including a biotech company that developed medicines for patients who needed them, including a life-saving therapy for kids. Married my wife, Apurva, who herself is a throat surgeon, taking care of patients every day at the James, at the cancer hospital at Ohio State. Herself the kid of immigrants who came here with nothing to their name. And now we're raising our kids, our two sons, and God willing, early next year, soon to be our daughter, who we expect in February of next year. Thank you very much. Raising our kids in circumstances that neither of our families would have imagined just a few decades ago. Hopefully, God willing, with your help, in a position to lead that very state where I was born and raised. To me, the extraordinary part about that story is that it's really not that extraordinary in the United States of America. This is the country, and I believe we are the state on God's green earth where that story is possible. It is normal. That's what makes the American dream special. That's what makes the United States of America distinct from every other nation in human history, actually. I met a young woman from Italy who was an exchange student earlier today. I mean this in a kind of way. Where is she? With a high school student? She went, where she was? I see her over here. Yeah. You can go halfway around the world. We welcome our exchange students from places like Italy. But you think about it, we go halfway around the world. You could move to Italy and you would never be an Italian. Now, you could move to Germany and you would never be a German. You could pack your bags and live the rest of your life in China or Japan, and you would never be Chinese or Japanese. But you can come from any one of those countries to the United States of America, and you can still be an American, so long as you pledge allegiance to the ideals of this country, so long as you work hard, you play by the rules, You get to have a good life and dream for an even better life for your kids. That is the American dream, and it is distinctive from every other country because there is no Canadian dream. There is no British dream. There is no Chinese dream. It's called the American dream for a reason. It is what makes American exceptionalism possible. It is what makes this country, I believe, genuinely, the greatest country known to the history of mankind. And we have an obligation to revive that American dream. In this moment in our history, now I know we had the young college Republicans stand up. I appreciate all of you standing up for conservatism on your college campuses, even in the last few years when that may not have been a popular thing to do. But a lot of the next generation is skeptical of that American dream. They have lost their conviction in that American dream. You look at New York City now, and Minneapolis on the cusp of electing self-proclaimed socialists. I don't mean that as an insult, it's what they call themselves. Now being elected in cities from New York City to Minneapolis. What's going on in the country? The easy thing for us to do is just to dunk on that, to criticize that other side. I think the harder thing to do is to ask why it's actually happening. The reason is so many of our young people have lost their conviction in American capitalism, have lost their conviction in that American dream. Young workers feeling like they're working hard, doing their part, yet still not quite able to get ahead. Young graduates not able to afford that first home. Young people even who have been told that we're a country built on free speech, seeing a guy like Charlie Kirk, who they look up to, assassinated in cold blood while speaking freely on a college campus. I understand why many of those young Americans are cynical, but my message to you guys and your generation tonight is that you can't be cynical about our country because we're still the last best hope we have on planet Earth for a country where you can pursue your dreams and speak your mind in the open. But it is our job as Republicans to now revive that American dream. A new American dream where we once again celebrate success over victimhood. A new American dream where we bring down the cost of housing by actually removing red tape and building more homes. A new American dream where we bring down the cost of electricity by producing more energy in places like right where we are here today in our own home state of Ohio. A new American dream where you can walk into the downtown of your city, whether it's Columbus or Cleveland or Cincinnati or anywhere in between, without fear of looking over your shoulder for being assaulted. Where you can speak your mind in the open without fear of somebody putting a bullet in your neck. A new American dream where we bring down health care costs. A new American dream where we see inflation not going up faster than wages, but the other way around. That's up to us. And the reason I'm running for governor is I don't think the federal government alone is going to be able to accomplish that. To the contrary, I want Ohio to be the state where we revive the cradle of the American dream for our country. I'm running for governor because I want Ohio to be the top state, not just in the Midwest. Because frankly, we are already the best in the Midwest. I say this as someone who visited Minnesota recently. I can confirm that we're among the best in our region, okay? We're doing great as a state, but great is not good enough for us. I want to lead Ohio to be the top state in the country, to revive that American dream, to give your kids a world-class education, to grow a small business into a big business, to be the state where we actually celebrate capitalism and free enterprise instead of apologizing for it, to be the state where patriots across this country actually flock to and flock back to instead of just going to places like Florida or Texas. That's where I want to lead our state. Now, there are those who will say, we have friends in other states, in Florida, Texas, or California or New York, who will, friends of mine will say, we like it and everything, but don't get carried away. Okay, how could Ohio be that state in the United States of America? And we remind them that it was not long ago that Ohio was that state in the United States of America. You see, at the turn of the last century, we were the wealthiest state in the Union. We led the first industrial revolution. Even 6 decades ago, in 1960, 6 of the top 15 wealthiest cities in America were here in Ohio. Met some friends from Toledo tonight. Toledo was the glass capital of the world. Akron was the rubber capital. Youngstown and Cleveland were jointly the steel production capitals of the Western Hemisphere. Dayton led in computing. My hometown of Cincinnati was known around the world as the Queen City, the consumer products capital of America. And there's this special thing that happens when you're a young person growing up in that state, at the heart of the greatest nation known to the history of man. You gain the self-confidence as a young person to achieve the things that you were taught to believe were impossible. You see, it's not a coincidence that that was the same Ohio that Neil Armstrong grew up in, when he became the first man in human history to walk on the moon, born, raised, living in Wapakoneta, Ohio, as he did. It's not a coincidence. That was the same Ohio that John Glenn grew up in, when he became the first American to orbit around the earth, born, raised, living in Ohio as he did it. That was the same Ohio that raised the Wright brothers in Dayton, Ohio. Born and raised they were. When they took flight at a moment, they were taught to believe that was crazy talk. That is who we were as a state. And you know what? We can be that state again, because if you think about it, we have every natural gift we did the first time around. Same great fertile farmland, same great natural resources, a great geographic location for manufacturing. 60% of North America's population, think about that. 60% of the entire continent's population within a single day's drive of where we're sitting right now. Natural gas to our east, water to our north, Erie Canal to New York City, Ohio River to the Mississippi. God has blessed our state with every natural gift we could wish for to be the state that leads the United States of America back to greatness, to be the state that powers America's comeback. All we have to do is to once again believe in ourselves to be that state again. And what I want to see is a revival of that conviction. If America was a frontier state because of Ohio, if we were America's first frontier, we ought to be America's next frontier. If Silicon Valley led the way for the last 10 years, let it be the Ohio River Valley for the next 10 years. Building on the sectors that got us here, from agriculture and farming, but building on that foundation to also chase the sectors of the future. From semiconductor production, to nuclear energy, to natural gas. The state where we embrace life sciences and biotech innovation, to our defense industrial base. Even the state where we actually use AI and quantum computing. Not to take old jobs, but to make new jobs through workforce training and education. That's where I want to lead our state. And that will require some change. I will be honest about that. They'll run ads against me. The Democrats mostly will next year, pointing out some of the changes that I seek to make. And I seek to make those changes not because we're anything other than a great state. We're a great state, but great is not good enough. And if we want to lead the country, we're going to compete with Texas and Florida and Tennessee. Those states have had their turn. Get out of the way. It's time for Ohio to lead the way now. It's Ohio time in Ohio, in the heart of the country. The heart of the country will be the leading edge of the country. And that will require positive changes like one that I think you share in common with me in vision, Jim, don't you? We've got to be a zero-income tax state. We should be a zero-income tax state because you deserve to keep what you earn. It is your money, not the government's. And if 8 other states can do it, we can get it done. We're the state that put a man on the moon. We're going to do that while also bringing down the property tax burden in this state, which has gotten insanely high. It is your land, not the government's. You should not be paying more in your property taxes than you are in the principal and interest repayments on your mortgage. That's un-American and antithetical to our values as Ohioans. And we're going to do that while also improving educational quality in our schools. I'll tell you, the Democrats, they challenge me on this one. And let's give them the fairest shake we can, right? Let's give a fair shake here to the best argument that they'll make. They will say, okay, how are you going to bring down our property taxes, which pay for our schools, while also claiming to improve the quality of our schools? Fair question. To which I say that the evidence points to the fact that the real problem with our schools is a deeper failure of standards and a failure of quality. The schools that spend the most money per student are the ones now delivering the poorest results on a per-student basis. The schools that have seen the greatest increase in funding since the COVID-19 pandemic have seen the greatest declines in performance since the COVID-19 pandemic. So I'm not saying that means that if you cut the funding, performance goes up automatically. What I'm saying is there's a deeper issue that we have to have the courage to confront. I want us to be a state that embraces, I won't apologize for this, that embraces school choice to the next level, to go to full universal school choice in Ohio, because every parent deserves to send their kid to the best possible school they can. But it is also true that there are many parts of our state where there are no other choices other than the public school, which means we have no choice other than to make sure that our public schools are able to compete with the best of those alternatives. And that requires a return of a foreign concept in American public education, which is the idea of standards. On my watch as your next governor, the way we're going to improve academic performance while bringing down your property taxes is bringing those standards back to our schools. The principal's the most important person, arguably, in the building. They should be able to determine which teachers gets hired or fired, promoted, or actually even paid higher. The starting salary for a teacher should actually, on average, be higher than the $40,000 starting salary per year, but it will be paired with quality because those two things go together. Every third grader in our state will know how to read before they go to fourth grade, right? We were talking about that, Aiden. Stand up, Aiden. 19-year-old running for school board. I just met him about an hour ago. I was impressed by you, man. 19 years old. You're out of high school, though, right? Okay, I think you should be out of high school to run for school board. But if you're out of high school and you're 19, I like you represented on your school board. I said, what? Because he asked me to meet a lot of school board candidates. We met about an hour ago. I said, well, what are you running on? I kid you not. What did you tell me? Third grade literacy.
24% of our third graders do not read at a third grade level, and I think that's a problem.
Thank you. Give this man a round of applause. 19 years old. And Aiden, you know what? That caught my attention when you brought that up to me, because this is the whole ballgame. If you can read by the end of third grade, your chance of achieving success in life goes through the roof. Your chance of ending up on government aid is much, much lower. But if you cannot read by the end of third grade, when you start fourth grade, your shot at achieving success in life falls like a rock off a cliff. You're going to likely end up in prison, likely end up in government aid, much more likely to do those things than if you couldn't read. Well, what is our literacy rate? You talk about third grade reading levels, 24% for third grade reading level. I'll give you another stat. We're talking the same language here. In our Ohio 8 public schools, the big 8 public schools, the percentage of literacy when you're entering fourth grade is less than 45%. On my watch, that number will be 100%, because here's why. If you can't read by the end of third grade, on my watch as your next governor, you're not going to fourth grade until you can. Okay, we're bringing standards back to education. Numeracy and algebra competence by 8th grade. Civic competence by the time you graduate from high school. We're going to require that every high school senior who graduates from an Ohio public high school has to pass the same civics test that every legal immigrant has to pass before that immigrant becomes a voting citizen. You got to know something about your country, to be proud of your country, to pledge allegiance to your country. I reject this myth that we must choose between somehow wasting money and delivering quality for our kids. We can save that money, put it back in your pocket, lift up our economy, and empower our kids to thrive. The ones who want to go to four-year colleges, we root for you. It's not falling into this trap of saying four-year college, therefore bad. No, for people who want to be a doctor like my wife, or an engineer like my father, or any other profession that requires a college degree, I want the best college degree programs available right here in Ohio. But we also want to make sure that every young man and young woman who wants to be an electrician, or a welder, or a plumber, or a mechanic, or a machine operator can also live that American dream without having to take on four-year college debt. Bring those earn-while-you-learn programs into high school. Put some money in the pocket of that 14 or 15-year-old boy who's lacking self-confidence to say, if college isn't for me, what do? They retreat, sit in their parents' couch in the basement, playing video games, smoking pot, ending up on government aid. I mean, it sounds funny, but it's a reality spreading across so much of our country. Instead, to empower those young people with the skills-based training they need, higher education beginning in high school itself, to empower them to stand on their own feet and pursue that American dream when they graduate. When you graduate from high school, either you're pursuing a four-year college degree and doing it with success, or else you're joining the workforce standing on your own 2 feet. It's either A or B. There is no option C. That's what success looks like when you're graduating from our high schools. This isn't hard. It's common sense. Now, to me, this isn't about right versus left. I say this is a proud Republican tonight to a room of proud Republicans. What we're talking about here isn't about right versus left. This is about right versus wrong. Hey, they punctuated my, thank you for they helped me out there. I like that with the dramatic effect. Thank you for that. Right, that's it. Right versus wrong. That's what the Democrats are giving us, right? A bunch of broken plates in the back of the room. Well, you know what? And we planned this. We got to have some fun from time to time. But the truth is, I don't care what you call yourself. You could call yourself a libertarian, independent, orphaned Reagan Democrat, or politically homeless. As long as you care about giving your kids the same shot at the American dream that this state and this country gave to me and to my family. As long as you believe the world-class education that we can get in this state is the birthright of every Ohioan, we will work with you to lead our state to greater heights than we have ever seen. Because we are not a state in decline. We are not a nation in decline. We are a state, a region, and a nation still in our ascent, on our way up. Not in some fake politician way. Jim, we just said politicians in the bio now, but I don't mean this in some, kumbaya, Pollyanna, cheesy politician way. I mean it in a true way. I truly believe that Ohio's best days and America's best days are still yet ahead of us. I truly believe in that American dream. I truly believe that if you work hard, you play by the rules, you get ahead in this country with your own ingenuity, your own commitment, your own dedication, that you're free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what we are running to. That is what we will revive in our own home state of Ohio, in the heart of the country, to give inspiration to the other 49 states to follow our lead rather than the other way around. To be the state that revives that shining city on a hill, that example that the free world aspires to for what is possible here in Ohio. You know what? Today there's a little meme on the internet where young people, when they see something old or out of touch or out of fashion on TikTok, what do they say? Only in Ohio? That irritates me. 10 years from now, you know what they're going to say when we're powering manned rockets to Mars? When we're leading the world in the production of the energy of the future right here, curing previously incurable diseases with cures discovered right here in Ohio. 10 years from now, you young people, you're going to say only in Ohio then, because we are demonstrating what is possible. I believe that is within our reach. We've got to win next year to do this. I'm going to ask for your help in that. You said Medina County's a red county. Great. The way we win elections is making sure that our core conservative base actually shows up, especially next year. A year when my friend Donald Trump's not going to be on the ballot, we're going to have to do our part. We're not going to take anything for granted. Are we in a good position now? I'll always be frank with you. I think we are. I think we're in a very good position. But is complacency an option? No, complacency is never an option. And if we can win, we want to win. If we can win by 10 points, we'd rather win by 20. We want such a decisive mandate. With your help in Medina County, we're going to accomplish that. You are part of that team. This isn't just about defeating the left. Frankly, we did that last year. I could care less about owning the libs. I want us to own responsibility for leading our state to new heights. I want us to own responsibility for saving our country. I don't want to hold ourselves to the standards of the Democrats. We hold ourselves to our own standards of excellence. And by the way, if we do that, we're going to discover 8 years from now, a lot more counties are going to be the same thing about themselves, Jim, that you said, is that they are red counties in the state that didn't know they were red counties. We're going to just help them figure that out by lifting up the quality of life in every part of this state. Not just central Ohio, but every part of Ohio. From Toledo to the foothills of Appalachia, the success of Ohio will include the success of every part of Ohio. That is a team effort to get there. And I view every one of you in this room as a critical partner and part of that team. It's not somebody else coming out to save us, not from the White House, not from the governor's mansion. If we are going to be saved and led to new heights as a state, it is going to be because all of us, every one of us, steps up and does our part. For those of you who are endowed with financial resources, to those of you who have a little bit of extra time to volunteer, to knock some extra doors, put some extra yard signs up. Speak to your friends, especially those few Democrats maybe even here who may be open to thinking about things in a different way. That may be the hardest one of all. But I'm going to ask you to do your part. Go home tonight, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what is a unique gift that God has given you? And how are you going to use it to lead our state to new heights? And if you all do your part, I promise you, my wife and I and our family, we will do ours to make sure that Ohio's best days and America's best days are still ahead of us. And just a year from now, we're going to have a lot to celebrate. We're going to come back to Medina County to do it. Thank you all for coming out today, guys. God bless you and your families, and may God bless our great state of Ohio. Don't stop fighting. This country is worth saving, and we will. Thank you, guys. We love you. Thank you, Jim.